Good morning. Welcome to episode 33 of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. I'm the Energy Guy, Tom Moore, broadcasting live from our studio at Farmers Electric headquarters in Clovis, New Mexico. Man, those drums. I've got to give another shout out to Glenn Barlevin, the drum intro and the outro, both done by our IT manager, Glenn Barlevin. He did a fantastic job, and I hope that by now, if you've listened fairly regularly, if you happen to hear those drums, you think the first thought that comes to your mind, or any drums for that matter, you start hearing them, you think, "Uh-oh, here comes another episode of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy." All right. Well, last week I was shivering, when I started the show, and it was I misread it. I said it was 12 degrees, but it turns out it was like 8. But right now it's not bad. In comparison, it's only 24 degrees, and we made it through Winter Storm Fern, and that was quite the winter storm. Fern, Fern, given to it by the National Weather Service, I guess, or whoever does that. I'm not sure. Fern stretched from New Mexico all the way to Maine, so a big swath through the south, and then it turned north, and even as far north west as Michigan and Ohio. So it really left a path of destruction in its wake. Significant damage was reported from Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana, where heavy ice accumulation caused massive power outages. And I think some of those folks are still without power. I haven't looked in and checked in on it lately, but the last time I looked, which was last night, there were several thousand people still without power. And I think that was most of those were in Mississippi. Another thing that's been affected by this is travel. Obviously, the roads with a bunch of ice and snow on them become very hazardous, and you got to be careful. But mainly air travel has been slowed significantly. Yeah, that ice is a bad deal. So it will accumulate on power lines and weigh those down, and it will also accumulate on trees, which then get so heavy their branches break and fall on to power lines and cause a direct fault, or can cause the power lines to break, and then the next then a pole breaks, and then the next pole has to take on that weight, and so on and so forth. It breaks. It's kind of like a domino effect. We lost, oh man, well over 500 poles. It's been a long time ago. I think it was 1997 here at Farmers Electric in eastern New Mexico. And we had folks without power in some of our more isolated areas for over 2 weeks, I think. So we were scrambling around and passing out generators to folks. We basically cleared out generators. We rented a bunch of them from all around Clovis, Tucumcari, I think, all the way to Albuquerque, and had to give a little safety talk on generation and safety generators and safety as it pertains to portable generators. That's what they were. Those that are stationary if they don't have wheels, but you can pick them up fairly easily, and like say up to 5,000 watts or 5 kW, something like that. And some of them have wheels where you can wheel them around, and they come in handy. Just a limited amount of things you can actually run on them. You could run the refrigerator for some time, maybe a couple of space heaters, but you got to be careful. If you stack load on it, it will reach its capacity and trip a breaker if you're not careful. So we're going to talk today a little bit about generator safety, both portable and standby whole home generators. So I've got some notes that I put together for those. But back to Winter Storm Fern, there were other severely impacted areas, including Alabama and the Florida Panhandle, and that was more due to tornadic activity that came out from Fern. Also, Texas and New Mexico experienced severe cold. I think the ice started about just east of Dallas, but I know for some time, I can't remember what day it was, maybe Saturday or Sunday, there was a ground stop both no flights in or no flights out of Dallas airport. So yesterday, no, when was it? It was Thursday, I think. Thursday, my daughter calls me, and she's in Detroit area, Michigan, greater Detroit, and she's kind of in a panic. She had experienced her share of cold temps there in Detroit as they dropped below zero and even colder with the wind chill factor. But she called me Thursday in this, I wouldn't say panic, but a bit of a panic, just something she hadn't dealt with before. And she's like, Dad, there's water gushing out underneath my dishwasher, and it's hot. I can see the steam, and it's flowing towards my living room. And I'm on the phone with her, and I'm like, well, build a dike with towels and try to stop it, slow it. Turn on your hot water in the faucet. Do you know, to take some pressure off that pipe that was spewing? Do you know where your main shutoff valve is? Oh, no, she didn't. And that's one thing. Do you know where your meter is? Do you have a key, to turn off your main meter, water at the main? No, I don't. So I'm going to use this as a learning tool and say that as a homeowner or renter, for that matter, these are things you need to know. Some of them have shutoff valves that are just quarter turn that you know where they are, coming into say your water heater. That would be a good place to turn off water that flows on then to your dishwater or to your faucet under in your kitchen and then onto your dishwasher. So if you turned off your disconnect, which is usually a quarter turn on a more modern home, that would have stopped it. Also, underneath the sink, there are options with two valves, one for cold, one for hot. And so I told her, well, look at the one on the left first. She's under the sink at this point. And she said it was a little hard to turn. I'm going to turn off the other one. She turned it off, and it worked. And she went back to the hot water and tried it again. And she said, I got it. It's off. And of course, then the water that was flowing in the sink turned off, and also the gushing water from underneath the dishwasher was off. So, as a homeowner, and she's a new homeowner, and I don't expect her to know all these things. And her husband was away, and I don't expect him to know all these things. These are things you gain over time, or you learn these things when you listen to Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. I just love doing that. It might catch some of you guys off guard sometimes, though. So I'm afraid I'm going to scare somebody someday. But guess what? That's the last time I'm doing it today. Or is it? I might surprise you. But no, I felt so sorry for her, and then now she's got an insurance claim, because it didn't do a significant amount of damage, but some enough to cover her deductible and then some. So she's got those guys already on it. Safety as it pertains to portable backup generators is important. Safety operating a portable backup generator requires prioritizing proper placement outdoors. Now, I say outdoors because these are combustion motors, and they put off carbon monoxide. So to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning, you got to make sure and put these outside. You never want to run one of these indoors. Taking precautions against electrical hazards and following fire safety rules, especially when refueling. So most of those are going to run off regular gasoline, and they get hot, so you want to be super careful when refueling. I shut them down altogether. Obviously, I use, whenever I'm refueling, obviously I would use a good quality funnel to fill the gas tank. You got to be careful about where you put these, where you position these, because you may have some kind of fresh air intake on your home that could pull the dangerous carbon monoxide fumes, which is basically a invisible gas, back into your home. Like if you had a heat pump, for instance, you don't want it anywhere near a heat pump that might be operating, or in the summertime, an AC, outdoor condensing unit that uses fresh air to operate. It sucks that air in right there, so you wouldn't want to be operating Of course, those wouldn't be running then, would they, if you were out of electricity? But there are places where fresh air can go into a home, maybe a home window that's not well sealed. So I would keep it away from any windows on the exterior of your home. But carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless, and deadly gas produced by running engines. Operate outdoors only. Never run a generator inside a home, garage, basement, crawl space, or any partially enclosed area, even with open doors or windows. Maintain distance. Position the generator a minimum of 20 feet away from your home. 20 feet's a long ways, but hey, safety first. Never near any doors, windows, and vents to prevent fumes from entering living spaces. That's what I was talking about just a minute ago. Direct the exhaust away from all buildings. Install CO2 alarms. Use battery operator to plug in with battery backup carbon monoxide. I said CO2. CO alarms. Carbon monoxide. Detectors inside your home on every level and outside sleeping areas. Test them frequently and replace batteries as needed. Know the symptoms. Be aware of flu-like symptoms, which are headaches, dizziness, nausea, and fatigue, which could indicate carbon monoxide poisoning. Excuse me, I got a cough. I've had this cough now for a month. I know it was right around Christmas. So I'm probably going on like 5 weeks now. And it is frustrating. I mean, I'll feel good for a couple of days, and I'll have one night where I just have this coughing fit, keep me up half the night. So I've got a little tickle going on this morning, but I do have some coffee. And I always ask this as part of my show, who needs coffee when you have Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy? Well, this morning I do, because of this little tickle. Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy is the only podcast awarded the prestigious Energy Star label. Hold on just a second. I'm going to get a drink. That's good stuff. But anyway, know those symptoms. Again, headaches, dizziness, nausea, and fatigue, those could indicate carbon monoxide poisoning. If symptoms appear, move to fresh air immediately and call 911. Electrical safety. Improper electrical connections can cause shock, electrocution, and damage your home's electrical system. Keep it dry. Operate the generator on a dry, level surface and protect it from rain or snow with a canopy-like structure. Do not touch the generator with wet hands or while standing in water. Avoid backfeeding. Never plug a generator directly into a wall outlet. This hazardous practice, known as backfeeding, can electrify utility lines and endanger utility workers. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we go over standby whole home generators. Use proper cords. Plug appliances directly into the generator or use heavy-duty outdoor rated extension cords that are rated for the electric load. Inspect cords for damage, cuts, tears, missing prongs, etc. before each use. Grounding. Ensure the generator is properly grounded according to the manufacturer's instruction to prevent electrical shock. Transfer switch. This is the important thing. We're going to go over a little bit more of that when we talk about whole home generators. Transfer switch. For connecting a generator to your home's wiring to power hardwired appliances, a qualified electrician must install a power transfer switch to isolate your home system from the utility grid. And we'll talk more about that and why in just a bit. Fire and burn hazards. Generators involve flammable fuel and hot components, posing a fire risk. Refuel when cooled. Turn the generator off and allow the engine to cool down completely, at least 2 minutes, before refueling. Spilled fuel on hot parts can ignite into fire, and that's why I do turn it off. I do let it cool even more than 2 minutes, and because 2 minutes isn't very long. And I use a very high quality funnel to refuel the tank. Proper fuel storage. Store fuel in approved, properly labeled, non-glass safety containers outdoors, away from living areas and other fuel burning appliances. Keep away from combustibles. Never operate the generator near flammable materials, such as leaves, debris, or fuel containers. Maintain adequate clearance, at least 3 to 4 feet on all sides for ventilation. Fire extinguisher. This is important. Keep a fully charged, approved fire extinguisher handy and nearby. Avoid burns. Many generator parts, including the exhaust, become hot enough to cause burns during operation and remain hot for some time after shutdown. That's why I said 2 minutes really isn't long enough. I think last time I used a generator, I probably let it cool for 15 minutes. Keep children and pets away. Okay, so we are 16 after the hour, and I want to transition now into whole home generators, or what we call standby generators. The others we just talked about are portable and smaller for small loads like up to, say, 5,000 watts, maybe 10,000 watts. 5,000 watts, you can run a lot of things on that. On a portable, you could run, again, your refrigerator, freezer. You could run a freezer. You could run, and separately from that, a couple of different space heaters if it's really cold outside, and space heaters. Typically, the small ones run 1,500 watts, 1.5 kW. Remember, to go from watts to kilowatts or kW, you divide by 1,000. You divide the watts by 1,000. So 1,500 divided by 1,000 is 1.5. We're going to talk about kilowatts here in just a bit. But whole home generators, 14 to 48 kW, 14,000 to 48,000 kW provide automatic hands-free backup power with installation costing probably anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. So it's a substantial investment. So you really want to give this some thought. And like, part of your thought process would be this: how long am I out of power when I'm out of power? When is the last time I remember a power outage lasting more than 3 or 4 hours? Those kind of things. And then you got a budget for it. You have to ask yourself, yeah, this is a great little thing to have, and I'll be the only one on the block that has power, and everybody's going to think I know someone down at the electric, utility, because my lights are on and theirs aren't. But it's substantial, up to $20,000. Are you going to get that back when you sell your home? Probably not. So give it some critical thinking and a lot of research. You want to make sure and buy the best. You hear of this brand, Generac. It's probably the most popular, and I say the most popular only because they do a lot of advertising. So they're spending a lot of money in marketing because they know they're going to get it back when they sell you one of their units installed for anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. But I would say if you trust an electrician, get a hold of them. Go to your local hardware store, see what they can order for you, and of course the big box hardware home improvement centers can have access to those as well. But anyway, they provide automatic hands-free backup power with installation, like I said, up to $20,000. Key considerations including sizing, typically 20 to 22 kW for an average home. So that's what an average home may use on peak. Of course, that might include some natural gas burning appliances, not necessarily all electric. If it was all electric in a larger home, it could be considerably more than that. But 20 to 22 kW or 20,000 to 22,000 kW. Again, to go from watts, 22,000 watts. But to go from watts to kilowatts, I had to take another drink of my coffee. You divide by 1,000. So 20,000 divided by 1,000 is 20 kW. They have fuel sources such as natural gas. Hold on just a second. Okay, I had to pause just for a minute because I had a little bit of a coughing fit, but I'm back. But the fuel sources are natural gas, propane, or diesel. Noise level, they can be super loud. So, as part of your research, see what kind of decibel level within a certain distance of the actual generator there is, because that would not only drive you crazy, but probably your neighbors crazy, especially when your lights are on and theirs aren't. Crucial features to look for are automatic transfer switch, remote monitoring, and professional installation for safety and compliance. Key considerations for whole home generation. Generator sizing capacity, kW. Average home, again, is 20 to 22 kW. Unit typically powers essential appliances, including AC, furnace, and refrigerator. Large homes with high demand, electrical demand, like multiple AC units, may require 48 kW or 48,000 watts or higher. 21 after the hour. Assessment. A professional load analysis is recommended to determine the exact wattage. Fuel type. Natural gas, we talked about that, provides an unlimited supply, assuming utility lines are functioning. Propane stores indefinitely and burns clean. Diesel, generally louder and less common, but effective for specific needs. Automatic transfer switch. This is what I was talking about when we were going over portable generators and how important these are. They're also called double throw switch. A critical component that detects a power outage automatically starts the generator, transferring power to your home within seconds and isolating the grid. The switch will also isolate the grid, which I just said, and your home's load. This is critical because standby generator power could flow back through your home's distribution transformer and step up the voltage to distribution line voltage as high as 14,400 in our service area. So it'll do just the opposite it does when it's coming into your home. So that little gray bucket on top of the pole, or that green box that's sitting out by your home in the underground, if you have underground service, those are step-down transformers, excuse me. They take 14,400 and step it down to usable voltage like 120 or 240. So if you're not isolated from the grid and you've got a generator on your side, it's going to flow back through without this double throw switch in place, it'll flow back through to your transformer. Then it will step up the power to distribution voltage, again, 14,400 volts. This wouldn't be safe for a line crew working on what they think is de-energized. So make sure that is installed by a professional. Installation and maintenance. Placement must be installed outside, complying with local zoning, safety, and noise regulations. Professional setup requires licensed experts for installation. I'm talking about electricians that are licensed professionals, which typically take just a few days. Maintenance, regular servicing is required to ensure reliability. You want to do practice runs on this. You don't want to let it sit out there for 3 or 4 years and finally you have an outage that looks like it's going to be, a lengthy one, and then try to fire it up and it doesn't work because the fuel's gotten old or, you name it. Noise level. Standby generators can be loud, similar to a dishwasher or higher. The ones I've heard, particularly diesel, are much higher. Consider the impact on your home and your neighbors. Features and technology. Remote monitoring. Many models allow tracking performance via Wi-Fi or mobile apps. Warranty. Ensure a robust warranty is included. Budgeting, which we talked about earlier. Again, costs vary based on the unit size, fuel type, and installation complexity, with the average cost between $10,000 and $20,000. So if you have any questions about standby whole home or portable generators, get on our Facebook page, Morning Buzz with Energy Guys, and send me a message through Messenger. And, maybe, or any other questions for me regarding efficiency or electrical safety or current utility, considerations like what's going on in our legislature and things like that. Our legislature here in New Mexico and other states are in session right now. It's a 30-day session, which is the shorter of the two sessions. We have a day session or a 60-day session. The 30-day session is then in the even numbered years like 2026, and the 90 days, the 60-day session, is in the odd. So it's 30 and 60, and the 60-day session is the odd numbers year, like last year, 2025. Wow. 25 after. Again, if you have any questions, and if you send me a question and I think it's good enough, I will try to use it on air, on our show, on the podcast, and we just we'll call it the mailbag section or something like that. We've had a few questions over the last few weeks, but not many. So I would encourage you to send me a message through Messenger on Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy on our Facebook page. Of course, Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy podcast can be heard on YouTube, on Spotify podcast, on Apple podcast, on all those platforms. And I would encourage you to like us, follow us, and subscribe and share. Share is probably the most important, because we want to have, as many years as possible hearing this stuff. I don't spend that much time preparing this. A lot of this is knowledge I've gained over more than 25 plus years in the industry. And I would call myself an expert in some parts of electric utility business, not necessarily all of it, but in the aggregate, all the people that work here, we have a number of experts. And if you ask me a question that I don't feel comfortable answering, I will just grab one of the guys down the hallway and say, "Hey, I've got a question for you. This came in on Messenger on Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy." And we're going to have shows coming up. Little teaser for you. We're going to have cybersecurity for the home. And we're going to have our IT guy, Glenn. He's also the drummer. Remember, I mentioned him in the front of the show. He's going to come on and tell you how you can better. It'll be in an interview format. We'll come up with some questions, or I will, before we start. And we'll cheat a little bit. I'll give him the questions before with the show, so he's not completely caught off guard. I might sneak one in there just to throw him a curve, just because I'm like that. And I have fun messing with him a little bit. But no, Glenn's a great guy, and a very, very knowledgeable guy on anything IT, internet, computers, printers, you name it. He knows a little bit about all those things and a lot about most of it. This day in history, January 31st, Jackie Robinson was born in 1919. Jackie Robinson, if you'll recall, was the first African-American baseball player in the major leagues in the modern era. He helped the Brooklyn Dodgers win a World Series in 1955 and won the National League MVP award in 1949. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. Jackie Robinson, born on this day, January 31st, 1919. Same year my dad was born. My dad was born in March. My dad was a big fan of Jackie Robinson. Carol Channing was born this day in 1921. She had a different voice. I don't know if you guys remember her. You got to look her up, and you see her, and you'll hear her voice just by looking at her. She was born in 1921 on January 31st. Actress and singer best known for her unique voice, which I just mentioned, and personality as star of the Hello Dolly. Justin Timberlake. Ooh, I just heard all the ladies in my audience go, ooh. Justin Timberlake, born 1981, pop star and actor who first gained notoriety as a member of the boy band NSYNC. After the band broke up, he launched a solo career that has included #1 singles Sexy Back and My Love. As an actor, he has played prominent roles in such films as The Social Network, Bad Teacher, and Friends with Benefits. On this day in history, January 31st, the House passes the 13th Amendment in 1865. The 13th Amendment, and this is cool because, Jackie Robinson being, black, was an African American, was born on January 31st, but on January 31st in 1865, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution abolishing slavery in America. So, cool, unique coincidence there. The amendment read, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States or any place subject to the United States jurisdiction." That was a good thing, 13th Amendment. First McDonald's opens in the Soviet Union in 1990. The Soviet Union's first McDonald's fast food restaurant opens in Moscow. Throngs of people line up to pay the equivalent of, this is crazy, several days' wages for Big Macs, shakes, and French fries. It was their first taste of Americana. Some people give McDonald's partial credit for the downfall of the Soviet Union, which happened just 2 years later. Not really. Nobody gives them credit. I just thought I'd throw that in there. But the part about them in 1990 opening up in January 31st, their first McDonald's in Moscow, that was true. And then the downfall of the Soviet Union did happen approximately 2 years later. Folks, that's it. Episode 33. That one's in the books. Hope you listen. Again, like us, subscribe, follow us, share us, all the above. Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. We'll see you next week.